And it says we are live. So apparently we are here with everybody. How are we doing? Sandhills Shooter here. And Travis P11 and I have been talking a little bit. We talked about doing kind of just a top 10 list of things that people need to know about if they are considering going to Wanenmacher's Tulsa Arms Show. And so we kind of started talking about this before we ever left Tulsa, and just with life and scheduling in general, we've never actually gotten together to go over all this stuff. So here we are, and this is the inaugural episode of the Get Off My Lawn chat. So I don't know if these are going to be a regular thing. I want them to be regular, but they're not going to be weekly. I can't commit to every Thursday night at 8 o'clock as much as I'd love to be able to do that. My schedule doesn't allow me to commit every Thursday, but we will do this as often as we can. And maybe Travis will join, maybe somebody else will join.
We should go for Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock. I think that'd be an awesome time slot.
Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock. It's not like anything else important's happening Tuesday night.
I mean, the show could be such a hit. I don't think it would be a miss.
It definitely wouldn't be a miss. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Oh,
so real quick here before I go too far, I want to shout out two different people. Those of you that have not seen yet over on my channel here, I do have Patreon up and running now, and I've got a couple videos posted up there, so patrons can go watch those. And so far, I have 2 brand new patrons. So I want to shout out thank you to Philo and to wait, hold on, who was my other one? I should have remembered their names, right? Where'd they go to? Come back over here. Philo is one of them. Jeffrey Flores is the other. So thank you very much to Philo and to Jeffrey Flores. You guys are awesome, and thanks for the support, and hopefully you are the first 2 of many. So if you haven't been over to Patreon, just patreon.com/Sandhills Shooter. I will throw that over here in the YouTube chat real quick. Maybe if I could type. There we are. Go check that out if you are of a mind to support us a little bit financially. We love everybody that does that. So, all right. Well, Travis actually has compiled this list, and I helped contribute a little bit to it. They're in our hotel in Tulsa, but I'm going to let Travis just say hey, and then we're just going to kind of go through some stuff. I'm going to let you present your list, sir. So, how's it going?
Man, we're doing good. How about you? You ready for this? There's a lot of stuff that we talked about. Luckily, we had like 8 hours to drive home and chat about it the whole time. So
I know, and anybody that hasn't watched that, those live streams, I think there were 3 of them that we did on the way home from Tulsa, and that is entertainment gold right there.
It is. It was awesome. I mean, yeah.
I think that we should have our own talk show, our own chat show, just you and me. We're better than Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon. We really are.
I mean, it's definitely up there in the top tier of entertainment and quality entertainment. We should do road trips more often, where you like go to other states and just ask people questions and stuff. You know, talk on the road and stuff. Yeah,
I'm good with it. We can buy a Gatling gun in every state in the union if you want to.
Yes, we can. Yes, let's go to South Dakota.
Let's do it. I'm not that far from there. I can be in South Dakota in a little over an hour. So
casinos. All right, since we're too bass-ackwards of a state to have our own, but that's okay. We'll lose our money in other states.
We have one. I'm not that far from it.
Sorta, you know.
It's got table games. It's got slots. Oh. It is. There's some sort of a loophole that the Santee Sioux have found, and there is a casino on the south side of the Missouri River in Nebraska. So it's just west of Highway 81 on Highway 12. If you've ever been up that direction, check it out. Ohia means win.
Ooh, nice. You will. All right. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is, you go to these events, you got to understand they're packing thousands and thousands and thousands of people into one area. Okay. So resources are going to be finite. And one of the biggest things that people have to have when they go to these things is Wi-Fi. And, you and I covered this as the media, and Wi-Fi was absolutely critical for getting our live streams out and staying in touch with everybody and keeping our phones on so we weren't burning through data. But Wi-Fi, I mean, I had no trouble doing the Caliber Corner in the morning, which was 8 a.m. before it was really packed. But then a lot of other people were complaining that they couldn't even get on the network. So we're not dogging on Wanenmacher at all. It was absolutely amazing. It is the coolest thing. But you got to understand, when you go to these things, there's only so much available for everybody, and Wi-Fi is one of those things. So, Donna, do you want to comment on that at all? That's one thing. Wi-Fi can be spotty, especially in the afternoon when it's packed full of people, because people are price looking up their stuff. Sure, they're texting, and yeah.
It's like any other event that you go to where there are a lot of people, a state fair or, a concert, any live event like that you would be at with a ton of people. And yeah, I mean, we're going to tell you the way things are, and in no way whatsoever are we saying anything meaning it to be negative towards Mr. Wanenmacher or his show. We just want you to know what to expect if you've never been there, because Travis and I hadn't before.
Yeah.
And so learn from our experience. And that's one of the first ones is yeah, if you're going to get on the Wi-Fi, get there early. It wasn't such a big issue for me. I've got a nationwide data plan, and I have unlimited data. So if that's an issue, if that's not an issue for you and you have unlimited data, then you don't have to have the Wi-Fi, and away you go. But it was kind of nice to have that in there inside the building.
And it did work for the most part, but I think if you're going to be doing any kind of live streaming or any kind of media stuff, or you want to watch a YouTube video or send a video to somebody, just be prepared that it could bog down. And also, I think that once I logged off on my computer, I was not able to log back on with either that MAC address or that email account. So it might only give you one session of logging on per device. Once you log off or lose your connection, you can't get it back, because I was unable to get back on my laptop for the rest of the day. So I think it said it would refresh tomorrow, but that's not a big deal. I mean, I doubt a lot of people are going to run into that. But if you want to connect with your phone, you're not going to be streaming high speed stuff, whatever, while you're walking around in the area. But the Wi-Fi is free, and I thought that was really cool. I think they had an upgraded Wi-Fi you could get for a couple bucks, which if you need it, fine.
I think if you are planning on doing a lot of streaming, if you're going to go as a content creator and you're going to stream from there, it may be worth spending a little bit of money. I don't know what it costs. It couldn't have been too much.
No.
But it might be worth spending a little bit of money just to have that faster connection. Because I think probably with those paid connections, typically one of the things that you get is a little bit faster upload speed. And that's definitely makes a difference when you're streaming.
Oh yeah. So just understand there is Wi-Fi, but there's no guarantees. So number 9, and these are in no particular order of most important to least important. This was just stuff we came up with.
Just
number 9
that we had made.
Don't go looking for anything in particular, but don't be surprised if you find something you're not looking for.
Yes, absolutely. My brother-in-law had actually given me a list of a few different things that, if I could find them, to let him know about it. And I did not set off specifically going to look for any of these things. It was just hey, if you happen to see this, let me know, which is good, because to try to actually find a specific needle in a 7-acre or 11-acre
haystack.
Yeah. 11 acres, wasn't it, under one roof?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I think it was 4,000 tables or 3,600 tables or something.
It was crazy.
What it says is if you visit every single table while you're there during the hours it's going to be open, you have 20 seconds per table. Otherwise, you'll never get through every table that they offer.
Right, exactly. So yeah, you can't hit everything. There's just no possible way to do it. So don't even try to hit every table and necessarily talk to everybody at every table, because it's just not feasible to do so. But the second half of what you said, don't be surprised if you find something you're not looking for. I mean, oh my gosh, there was literally everything that you could think of, and almost everything you couldn't think of there. I mean, we picked up, a Steyr AUG. We picked up the FK Bruno.
Oh yeah, the FNPS 2000 or P2000 or whatever it's called, the carbine. You go looking for Ruger GP100 and you find an entire table full of Lugers and Nambus. It's like, oh my God, I don't want one, but now I have to have one. It's like, wow, I've never even touched one of these before. I know,
and I think we mentioned this once before on one of your chats, but here in Nebraska, if you go to a gun show, you might find one or two tables that have maybe a P08 Luger or maybe one or two or three Lugers at a given gun show, and that's a lot for the shows around here.
Yeah.
And we would walk by somebody with an entire table full of nothing but PO8s and C96 Mausers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just nuts, the stuff that you could find there that is typically around here. It's rare, but I mean, these guys are collectors. That's, some of these guys, that's all they do is scour the country for this stuff. And then of course bring it into Tulsa because it's the biggest one ever.
And we'll talk about, prices here in a little bit. Like, should you wait? Should you buy it right away? Should you negotiate? Should you walk around? We'll kind of talk about the strategy for getting a good price when you go, because you might be surprised with the prices. I know I was shocked because it was amazing. Okay, so yeah, so don't go anything. I mean, like me, I was looking for a 10mm high point carbine. I found one, and it was basically the same price I could get it back home. I probably could negotiate a little bit with cash, but there wouldn't have been a transfer because it was a long gun. But I only found one. I thought I was going to see tables of these things. I'm like, oh, it's the biggest gun show. But every year that they host it, or every time they host it, there's kind of a different kind of flavor of guns that you run into when you're there. This year was more on the single action cowboy stuff and the lever guns and the revolvers and a lot of the M1 Grands and stuff like that,
Yeah.
So
hey, real quick, Rob D out here in the YouTube chat. I'm sorry, I didn't mean this to sound clickbaity or anything. If you've been watching any of my videos, you've seen how I'm doing a lot of videos called Grumpy Old Man. Some of them are just me being a grumpy old man. Sometimes they're live chats that I do from the driver's seat. But I've said if we're going to do an actual chat where I do it from the computer and I have Travis or anybody else join in the room here, I've always said I was going to call it "Get Off My Lawn." And so, no, this isn't actually about kicking the neighborhood punks off of my lawn. I'm not going to come out with an M1 Garand or get in my Ford Gran Torino and drive around. I'm sorry if that's what you thought. But yeah, that's why we call it that. And hopefully it just kind of, again, takes off. It ties in with the grumpy old man thing.
Oh, did you see Rich White's comment? He's in Nebraska. His lawn is a cornfield. We have grass. We have lots and lots. We supply most of the hay for the rest of the country, bro.
Right.
But no, I've got a beautiful looking lawn outside, man. It's awesome. It's Kentucky bluegrass, though. Yeah, a little bit of fescue.
I've got mine decorated up with some dandelions, so it's
okay,
it's kind of pretty. Yeah.
Oh, I gotcha. All right, so let's go into number 8. Let's talk about food, because we don't want to starve, and you and I can't go very long without sustenance. So, you got to have food, right?
We can't lose the tactical dad bod.
Exactly. That's important. We're ready for the next famine, so we have to keep it, keep it full. So, okay, so a lot of people brought their own chow. It might be a good idea to just do some grocery shopping locally. There's a ton of stores and markets nearby. Pick stuff up, take it with you, because you're going to run into what I call the $6.50 corn dog. Okay, you're going to pay concert concession prices for food when you go to an event like this.
Think state fair or county fair prices.
Yeah. I mean, I got a coffee or something, and I think it was like $2.50 or $3. So yeah, just be prepared for that. You're gonna need at least $10 to $12 for a meal. So maybe just think about packing your own lunch and taking it with you. There's plenty of places to sit and eat.
If you think about it, though, $2.50 to $3 for a cup of coffee is nothing for the people that stop at Starbucks every day on their way to work. So.
Oh, I know, but I can go to McDonald's and get any size for $1. Or I can bring your own coffee, bring your own thermos, and walk around. They don't care. You can bring in your own coolers and food. I think they search bags. Did they search bags or not?
Yeah, I saw them searching bags.
If they did search bags, they might just look and make sure you're not bringing something.
You know what? No, I brought a backpack in. Nobody searched me. They just expect you. It's on the honor system. If you have a firearm, you have to check the firearm, and they're going to put a yellow zip tie on or pink zip tie, something on it, brightly colored zip tie, so there's proof that it's it is rendered inoperable while you're inside the show. But
did they have check-in? I guess we don't even have this on the list. Did they have check-in for concealed carry?
Well,
were you supposed to check it in or not? I can't remember what they said.
Yeah, any firearm that you brought in, whether you were carrying or if you brought it in just to sell it or show it, trade it, whatever, every firearm in the door had to be checked in. You had to verify that it was unloaded, made safe, and then they did lock the action open with the zip tie.
Yep, there you go. So anyway, food, yeah, just be prepared to spend a pretty penny when it comes to food. And that's just like any other event that you go to, public event you go to that's held in the pavilion or an ag center or whatnot. That's normal. Be prepared to wait to get there early for number 7.
Yes, absolutely. Now we actually got in, and we're going to talk about this here later on in the list, but we got in through a different door just because we did have our media passes, so that helped a little bit. But what time did the show start? 9 o'clock was it? I think.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to be in there by 9 o'clock, you better be over to the expo center by 7 and get in line. I mean,
Well,
it was backed up for probably a good quarter mile at
yeah.
one point.
If you here's a little secret we'll let you in on. Take a couple guns with you. Get yourself a vendor table before you go. Just take a couple shotguns and just slap some masking tape with a price written on them. And if you do that, you can get yourself a vendor table, which means you can get in Friday night.
Yes.
And that's where we were told you're going to find the best deals, the best selection, because that's where the other tables are stocking up on what they don't have. And there's a lot of merchandise flowing around where you're going to get the best selection at that point. Plus, guys are buying stuff to take back with them. So if you spend the $90 to get the table or whatever it costs for the table, seems kind of crazy. But if you're going to be spending some money on guns and you want to save money or negotiate, then get yourself a table, slap a couple guns down on it for sale, and then Friday night go do your thing.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what everybody said. We talked to a few vendors around us and stuff, and they said, yeah, most of the real wheeling and dealing was done Friday night once the vendors are all set up, and you can. I was typing, so maybe you just said this, but you can pay. It's an ungodly amount, but you can pay extra and get yourself in on Friday, even as just an attendee.
Oh, see, I didn't realize that.
I think that's right. Now, somebody may have to correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, it was a crazy amount, though. I mean, it was a couple $100. But if you're really in the market for the wheeling and dealing, and you want access to these vendors when they're not bothered with the general public, then go ahead. I mean, you can pay that and get that pass. So
they did change the stats on it. They said if you stop by this year's 4,200 tables, you have 15.4 seconds to look at every table before you run out of time.
Oh gosh, well.
So yeah. So it's pretty cool. I don't know. Since we're talking about getting in early, did we mention anything about parking at all? Is that on the list? I got to see here if that's on there.
I don't think it's on there. Well, kind of.
Not. Yeah. Okay. We do. Yeah. Okay. Moving on here, we got the best negotiating time was 4 o'clock Saturday. Is that what we said? Or 4 o'clock on Saturday or 4 o'clock on Sunday?
It ended at 4 o'clock, didn't it? On Sunday.
Okay. On Sunday it ended at 4 o'clock. On Saturday it ended at 6. So the traffic really started to slow down Saturday, and Sunday wasn't nearly as busy as Saturday. Saturday was pretty. Sunday was a good crowd. Don't get me wrong, but it was a lot less people. There were a lot less people there. So I'd say like 3 o'clock. It's Central Time.
It ended at 4. People were tearing down by 3. By 3:30.
Yeah.
The entire what was that? The West End. Were we were in the northwest corner? Were we not?
Yes.
So the west end of that upper level in there, half of the west end was out of there by 3:30.
Yes.
I had seen a T-shirt vendor that was there, and he had some really cool stuff. I was going to get one of those Doc Holliday "I'm Your Huckleberry" shirts. I had seen that in there at like noon, and then I went back over there about 3:30 to find him and find that shirt. Gone. That entire row of tables was just bare tables. The vendor was gone.
Yep.
So I missed out on my shirt. I'll find one maybe next year.
Now, Rob D is making a pretty good point on the YouTube side. He says, that's crap. You'd think they'd support CCW.
Now, they do.
Yeah.
They do support CCW, but you got to understand that just for the liability alone of a gun show, you cannot have loaded firearms inside of a gun show. And I've never been to a gun show that allows it. I've never been into a gun show before that allows any loaded firearms in the door. And so they do not tell you can't carry. In fact, if you read the fine print on their website, it talks about this. It says you can carry if you want to. If you feel safer carrying from your vehicle up to the door, please feel free. But then you have to unload your gun, and they do have a check station for that. So so that you can, I think you could check your ammo there.
Yeah,
almost like a valet.
They'll hand it back to you when you walk out. If you want to be armed when you leave the building, you're more than welcome to.
But you cannot have a loaded firearm inside the expo center.
I mean, I wish you could carry, but it's their event, it's their rules. I understand completely, but no, there is no buts about it. I mean, they should let you, but that's just their rule. What do you do? The one thing I will say is there was heavily armed security at every single door. Several officers.
They-
There are some hosses that you would not want to pick a fight with. I mean,
there
these guys
there
are
were
huge.
on-duty police officers, and then there were some looked like off-duty police officers too, just the way they carried themselves.
I mean, I think I probably saw 2 to 3 armed police officers at every single entrance.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't want to say I wasn't not happy about the fact I couldn't conceal, but I didn't feel unsafe. I felt a lot safer there than I do at the movie theater or some of these other places that tell you that you're not supposed to conceal. You know.
Well, and when you're staring at what would you say 4,200 tables, and over 90% of them have firearms or firearm parts on them, then if anybody had walked in there and tried to pull anything, it wouldn't have been too hard to pick up any rifle and go one table over and pick up a box of Freedom munitions or Fort Scott ammo or something like that.
I mean, think about that. You've got
it would have been a suicide mission, no matter what. Even without us being able to carry, it wouldn't have taken very long to get anything into a fight. So it was definitely a safe place to be.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Again, we don't want to cork anybody that's got a 9 o'clock Central Time show, so we'll keep this sucker rolling. But yeah, okay, fine. All right, we'll take our time.
I'm kidding. Who's got Yankees got one coming up here, and Gelsman's got one coming up. So nope, I want to be respectful to those guys. That's why we did this at 8 o'clock.
It's all good. Yeah, for negotiating time, what we're saying is, start talking below. Always go below the prices that they're offering. But the last couple hours, they were just saying, hey, you like it? I'll give you a great deal on it. They really want to get rid of that inventory before they go. And prices themselves, I guess we can talk about prices. Prices themselves were awesome.
They I mean, depending on what you were looking at. Now,
yeah,
I think the prices were fair, but they weren't crazy high. And yeah, I mean, I was looking at my next unicorn. The Beretta that I've always wanted, and I don't know. I don't want to get myself canned here, so I'm not going to say what it was. But it was one of those really cool Berettas. The back of it's flat. I think you guys know the one I mean. It's not black. But the guy was going to give me a deal on that thing. I think he was going to sell it to me for 900 plus the tax. And I guess YouTube won't get after me unless I tell you who he was, right? So I can't even remember who he was. But the Beretta M9A3, $900 plus tax, and that was free shipping. Yeah. So all I was going to have to pay extra was going to be sales tax and then my transfer fee to get it, from my dealer here. So at the time I didn't have the $900. It didn't matter. But I mean, that's a $1,200 gun some places when you see it, the retail price tag on it. So that's a pretty good show discount.
Even if you save $100, $100 is $100. If you can't get that price back home. And you do want to walk around, like if you're looking, like we were looking at those Taurus Spectres, right? We saw like 4 different prices on these things. The flat black one table wanted $329, one table wanted $269, one table wanted $259. So you want to kind of look around, but if there's something you're not seeing a lot of, you'd probably want to snag it if it looks like a good price, because it might not be there when you go back around.
It also depends on the dealer you're talking to, because the Spectrum that we saw, I think the cheapest was what, $239. We found one. But and I didn't talk to him about it, but I'm assuming that $239, I'm paying to ship it. I'm paying, all that extra stuff, whereas the other one I think included the shipping. So, did it really get marked down that far? Not really. I mean,
yeah.
So really, it comes down to who do you like and who do you want to give your money to? Because some of these people were. Well, I can't say anybody wasn't awesome. Everybody that I met, every vendor that I talked to was super friendly, super knowledgeable, and none of them had a problem with us taking pictures or recording any video, provided that we were respectful. Of course, we asked first.
Yeah.
But nobody had a problem. Nobody told us to go kick rocks.
Yeah. Exactly. If you go as a Gun Channels person, as a representative of Gun Channels, make sure you get in touch with like Clover Tac or Ghost Tactical. Get yourself a media pass. When you get there, meet up with us at the door or beforehand. And if you want to cover, we like to obviously have you cover the event. If you're somebody that's part of gunchannels.com, the media pass is awesome.
I think G-Webs was the one that got those secured for us, wasn't he? He was the one that handed them out. And I mean, you guys have seen all the videos, of course, but most of us stayed at the same hotel. And G, of course, stayed in the the van, but he hung out with us at the hotel. And anybody that needed a media pass, he handed them out. He had a stack of them. So yeah, just make sure that you let somebody know so that they can let G-Webs know, or you can let him know yourself that you are coming. And if you're on Gun Channels, yeah, he'll get you hooked up with a media pass. So we paid $0 to go in and out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very, very cool. So G, if you're watching this, or if you catch it later, thank you very much for all the hard work you put into that.
And then going out and come back in, I think there's a lot less hassle for us. The media pass, we could walk by; they wouldn't have to like check us, or we just show it to them and go right by.
Well, the general public had one door that they could go in and out, and the vendors all had some of these other side doors, and we were able to use the vendor entrances with that because the security guards were like, "Yeah, go ahead, you've got a media pass, that you're cool," So. We would all show it to them. And now, one thing that we didn't have on our pass that we all found eventually was a lanyard and an ID holder of some kind. So, you're going to want that. You're going to want to bring something along, or like I said, we found lanyards, and then we were able just to attach our media passes right to the lanyard there that we got from our neighbors next door, was Fort Scott Munitions.
Yeah, I was gonna say Fort Scott took care of us on that. They hooked us up. So
they were awesome.
I know, because I was thinking, I've got all these lanyard holders that I use for conventions that I go to, and I didn't even bring one with me. That was the one thing I forgot when I got there.
So if you have a lanyard holder, an ID holder that you wear it around your neck or whatever it pins on, just throw it in. You're going to be, it's going to be a lot less hassle having that, and then you can have that displayed, and it's really cool because nobody, as far as the vendors were concerned, nobody had seen media passes really walking around before. We were kind of a novelty to them this last spring, and so they would look at that and go, "What do you media pass? Who do you work for?" And we'd tell them, "Well, we all have YouTube channels. We're all part of GunChannels.com," and we could explain what we were doing, and everybody was super receptive to the idea. Oh, yeah. And that's where, again, as long as you approached them as, you don't want to walk up to them and be a jerk and be like, "Hey, I'm here to cover for Gun Channels and you owe me an interview." Sure, nobody wants to deal with that. But if you just come up and say, "Hey, we're here with our YouTube channels and we're all part of GunChannels.com," it's, we say whatever we say when we talk about it on our live streams. It's kind of like the water cooler of the gun world. And so, whatever we would give them the website, they'd go check it out, and we'd show them, what our channels were on YouTube, and we'd take some pictures, we'd take some videos if they were interested in an interview. I think most everybody was, and so it was pretty fun to do. And then, they said, well, they hadn't really had media coverage before, and definitely not internet media coverage the way that we were. So it was kind of neat because a lot of these vendors were happy to get the word out, on more than just their own website or their own YouTube channel. They were very, very receptive. I know Bighorn Armory up in Cody, Wyoming was crazy receptive about it. They had subscribed to your channel and mine before we walked away from their table when we did that interview.
Yeah, that was very cool. And then, the vendors were just awesome. What I liked was that it was a lot of mom and pop places. It wasn't the big manufacturers. It would have been nice to have the big manufacturers there, but I think it's because they were going to Dallas within like the next 4 weeks to the NRA show or the Dallas Gun Show or whatever, that a lot of the big companies show up at things like that. Like you're going to see, not Winchester, but, just like Glock or Smith & Wesson and stuff like that. But it was cool, though. All the companies that were there were just awesome. They were so friendly. Okay, checking out number 4. Be prepared to walk for parking.
Yes.
I mean, that's you need to do some training before you go to this thing. Anybody should. You need to get out, do some walking.
Wear comfortable walking shoes too. Whatever you would go out and walk a mile in, those are the shoes you want to have on. Or if you anything that you can stand on concrete, or walk on concrete all day, that's what you want to wear. And again, with parking too, it's going to be
it's all free. I don't think they charge for parking at all, which was nice.
There was nobody out at the street charging for the parking. But again, it's all first come, first serve. Yeah. So again, if you want a decent parking spot, you better get there early too. Yep. Or if you have to leave in the middle of the day to go to Whataburger, don't expect to have as good a spot when you get back.
Unless we could get G to like pull his van in there and then back out and we take his spot. He goes back to his little place in the perimeter.
But we'll just have to draw straws and see who has to stand in the parking spot until we get back from eating.
And it was cold, man. When we were there, it was like 15 degrees, 20 degrees. We brought the winter weather with us when we went there, I think.
That's right, because
it was snowing on the way down there. It was like a blizzard. It was,
Never Enough Ammo was loving it because he hadn't seen snow for a couple of years, and we got snow Friday night when we were there.
Yep.
We got just a little skiff of snow, and it melted off by noon. But there was a little patch of snow in the shadow on the north side of the expo center, and Matt actually wrote his name in the snow with his finger, mind you, but he did write his name in the snow, and he made a little drew an angel, so we made a snow angel in the snow too.
I was loving it because that was the warmest I've been in months. Yeah,
exactly. We were like, well, and I was happy that it wasn't 80 or 90 degrees down there. So
yeah. Watch it. We'll be next year. And so this takes us into number 3. Be prepared for a full day of walking.
Yeah.
As somebody covering the event, I think what I would do next time is do my shopping on Saturday and do all my interviews on Sunday, because there's less people on Sunday, but the good deals can be had on Saturday if I can't get in on Friday. So, I mean, when we're talking about walking, I mean, I can't even imagine each aisle has got to be like 1/8 of a mile. I'm just thinking from one side of the building to the other, and then you go by and then you go downstairs and you got a whole nother section that you go to also. So, I mean, it's, I can't even imagine how many miles you actually walk in one day. Before you bring some ibuprofen with you. But I mean, if you're somebody who's in shape and you do a lot of walking and running, you're going to be fine. But man, you will burn off whatever corn dog you have for lunch.
That's right. So, that's right. No, it was, what was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought there.
Oh, walking or what? When it comes to walking?
Walking.
They've got places where you could throw down a bag chair and kind of set yourself up a little area if you want to. If you need to sit. I mean, they've got great facilities for stuff like that.
Well, what I was going to say is if you're going to go there as part of Gun Channels, and if you're going to cover the event as, part of your channel, then do your shopping on Saturday. And then make your contacts, explain to them what you're doing, and say, hey, I understand you're busy and I don't want to take up your time right now, but I know that tomorrow morning before noon, and there was a rush after church got out, just like there is at any fair or home show, that's on a Sunday. And so if we can get some of this stuff, I had a brain fart, AA, that's right. It happens all the time. No, if you can get some of those interviews done before noon, and then do the rest of them later in the afternoon. But that gives you a chance to see them 2 times. And so you get your name and your channel in front of them twice. But also you can write down and make yourself a list of, who you're going to go see, what their name is, what their business is, and then also the table address, because the tables are all lined up in rows and, letters or, whatever, they're numbered in an actual system. And so you can kind of go through the list and find the table that you want to later on too. So make sure that you write all that down, or else you're never going to find everybody that you talked to the first day. And then some of these people are going to be like, well, the guy said he was going to come by and I never saw him again. And it's just because you'll get lost in there.
They had mentioned something like 90% of what you're going to see is guns and ammo. 10% of it's going to be non-direct firearms merchandise. And really, that's about right. There might have been 1 or 2 rows in every aisle where it might have been concealed carry purses, or it might have been like accessories or body armor, or like AMSOL was there selling like gun oil and stuff like that. So it was just 1 or 2 tables, and the majority of it's just literally tables and tables of guns. I mean, after a while, you kind of get overwhelmed with what you see, because there's so many firearms sitting around, which is awesome. But yeah, for the walking, just make sure that you're in shape for that, or because I mean, you don't want to get tired and not be able to see the second half of the show or the other side of the building while you're doing it.
Yep, exactly. Now, hopefully, from now on, I think every Wanenmacher show, and I know there are 2 of them every year. There's November and then April. So hopefully, every time that we do this from now on, we're going to have a table like we did this time.
Yeah.
And so if you do get worn out, come back to the table, and it's great to have that spot. It's just a staging area.
There's donuts with sprinkles on it and coconut.
There were sprinkled donuts, and then there were 2 or 3 that weren't sprinkled. I ate them.
Okay, I was wondering what happened to him. I never actually got one of the donuts. I was like, ooh, donuts, and I never went. I mean, the boxes sat there
Well,
for the
you know,
morning.
they were sitting right there next to all of the sticker swag that everybody brought and put out on the table, and so we would have, just attendees would come by, and we'd explain, what gun channels is and stuff, and be like, hey, help yourself to some swag, and hey, help yourself to a donut. So even the sprinkle donuts eventually got taken. We didn't have to throw any of them away. But no, it's just a great, if you're there with gun channels, and if you're not there with gun channels and you're there anyway, come find the gun channels table and just stop in and say hi, because it'd be nice to, it'd be nice to meet a lot of you that we don't get to see your face and hear your voice all the time, because you're always in the chat. And we feel like we know you, even though we don't know what you look like. It would be nice to just come by and say hi. But there's a spot there where if you want to sit for a little bit, there's some chairs. If you've got a backpack, or if you bought a gun and you don't want to lug it around and you don't want to drag it all the way out to your vehicle yet, that's what people were doing. They just brought their stuff, and we made sure that there was always at least one person at the table, so the stuff was never unattended. And it was just a safe place to drop all your belongings. And, if you were carrying 20 or 30 pounds in your backpack, you didn't have to lug it around on your back all day that way. It was really, really nice to have.
Everybody was incredibly polite. We had thousands of guns and not one incident. I mean, everybody was very friendly towards one another. Even you bumped into somebody, like, hey, excuse me, sorry, no problem. I mean, because everybody's in a place where they can be happy, so it's just expect great positive people everywhere you go. Don't expect, I mean, it's a whole experience that you got to take it in at least once, if not every year.
Right.
All right. So now we'll go to number 2. So it was mentioned earlier, maybe it was armament and axes. When it comes to prices, know what kind of the market price is for the firearm you're looking for. Know what your local price is. Know what your online price is before you go shopping for something. But keep this in mind: cash is king when it comes to buying guns at this show. Some places only took cash. Some places would give you a better price if you did cash. You could negotiate with cash. But when it came to debit cards and credit cards, there were fees that these companies get charged to use the swiping machines. They pass that back on you. Absolutely. And so there could have been a 2% or 3% fee for using your credit card or debit card. Not that it's a big deal to some people, but to others it might be. So what do you think about that with prices and negotiating and things like that? What's kind of your take on it?
Well, if you've been to a gun show ever in the history of ever, if you've got cash money to lay on the table, you're going to make a deal. Mm-hmm. And it's just going to be a matter of how much of it you have to lay on the table before the guy says, all right, that, let's get together here. Because like you said, cash is king. You don't have to worry about electronics failing. You don't have to say, hey, let me go hit the ATM. You're not paying, $5 or $10 in ATM fees.
Which they have them there, by the way. If you need them,
they sure do.
Oh boy, they got ATMs. Wow.
And then again, I mean, you're saving a little money on shipping cost and transfer fee, and all that stuff. And now I don't know how everybody's state laws are, but in the state of Oklahoma, if it's not an FFL firearm, if it's somebody's private collection, then I think you pay different fees for that. You don't have the transfer fee, especially for a long gun. I don't know how it all works because I didn't buy a gun there. I tried to buy a gun there, and my wife said I couldn't. And we've talked about that before, but Travis was implicit in me not buying that Browning rifle that day. So
when it comes to the private sales that were going on, because there are tables that were doing private sales. There were some FFLs that had private sale stuff that was on the table that they were selling for other people. There were people that were selling their private collections. That was cash and carry. Oklahoma allows you to buy the gun there and take it, long guns. Take it with you when you go. Now, if it was pistols, I believe it required a check, and it also had to be shipped back to your FFL. But for long guns, you could just pick up, say you find a whatever, a Mauser or a Mosin or whatever, and you just pay the money for it and you take it. That's it. It's done. I don't know. I'm assuming they checked ID and driver's license to make sure you're the proper age if they had any doubt that you're old enough to buy it. But a lot of those tables were private sales, so you could just buy it and go. So, I mean, that was something that was really convenient about it. No fees, no extra charges or anything like that. But a lot of the private sale stuff was cash only.
Right.
They weren't going to mess with debit or credit. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're going to get
and not everybody there has a square reader or something to run a card, so sometimes it is just cash on the barrelhead and that's all you get.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but I mean, if you're somebody who likes to kind of negotiate a little bit, it's kind of fun to still be able to do that, especially on guns. This would definitely be the place to do it when you go.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get down to number one, and then after this, we can just mention some of the highlights from the show. If you are thinking about not going, you still need to go.
Yeah, anybody who's considered going and then decided maybe they shouldn't go is wrong. Yeah. Just flat out wrong. So,
I mean, where else are you going to find a $25,000 first run Henry Golden Boy 44 mag lever action rifle? You know,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've never seen one before, or like blunderbusses or pirate guns. I mean, my God,
wasn't that Henry? That Henry was like a $50,000 rifle, wasn't it?
Oh, I thought it was 25,000. Maybe that was the other one.
The Winchester 73 in 22 short.
Yes,
was 23,500.
Yes, that's right. I'm sorry, I was off. Yep.
So yeah, the Henry I think was a 50. I didn't ever see that one, but somebody said there was a first run Henry, the 44 44 Henry rimfire, whatever it was, the original Henry, the one that you could load on Sunday and shoot all week, was there. They had one of those and it was 50 grand.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just to see it at, I mean, like I said, just kind of go into it with a strategy, knowing what you're looking for and how much you want to spend, and specifically, and ask around at the table, say, have you seen one of these? Have you seen one of these? Because chances are these vendors might have been to other tables that were featuring that stuff. This time around, there were not a lot of black rifles. There were not a lot of AKs and ARs, like tables and tables full of ARs. My opinion, when I talked to some of the vendors, they said that a lot of that had been purchased, in the last 2 years, or the last, 3 years right before the election. And that a lot of these dealers had not restocked their black rifle collection because the sales had slowed down. I think that's why we saw a lot of the cowboy guns popping up and a lot of revolvers and things like that.
And yeah, from the people that we talked to that had been there several years, like P226 Nut had been there. What he had,
an uncle that had a table there.
Well, yeah, he had an uncle or somebody that had a table there, but he's got the button that says he's a vendor. Every vendor gets the little pin-on button. He had a button from the last 12, 15 years, something like that. You can go on G-Web's Instagram and see that picture that he took of all the buttons. But and I don't remember how many there were, but yeah, Roland brought all those with him, and then yeah, the people took pictures of those just laid out on the counter there at the hotel. But there was a lot of years worth of Wanenmacher vendor buttons there. So Roland's been there a lot. And he said every show, which they're twice a year, I think Vanessa Kitty was asking when the next one is. There's one in November every year, one in April every year. I don't know when in November. I know it's the first weekend in April every year. But every time that they have one, like there's just a different, like one year, yeah, you'll see a lot of black rifles. This year there were a ton of the more antique, the cowboy style, or the old blunderbusses, or pirate guns, whatever. So yeah, every time there you'll see a lot of whatever people have, the surplus of. So it's kind of fun to watch.
Vanessa does have a question. It says, I wonder if one would sell me an AR-15 out of state. Would, say, a dealer in Texas sell me an AR lower? Yeah, you would. If you're talking about going to the show, you'd buy it there. And then they would go ahead.
I will be right back, Travis. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
What would happen is they would you would pay for the lower there, and you would do whatever paperwork they require you to do. And then they would ship it to your dealer in your state. And then you would go pick it up and pay the transfer fee. So, like, say you find a really good deal on it. When will you be going to Knob Creek? One in the fall. Let's see. We will be there. For me, it's really tough because I get only 2 personal days with my job. And if I use up those 2 personal days, if I'm gone more than that, and it's not a sick day, for me, I actually have to pay off my paycheck a substitute fee. So if I want to take a day that's not a personal day, so I burn my 2 days going to Tulsa in the spring. Now in the fall, I'm actually going to go see Metallica with a good friend of mine. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to the November show. I might be able to do something to be able to go in April, but if I go in April, it's going to cost me. So I'm not 100% sure I'll go. Right on, man. Right on. But yeah, the Knob Creek isn't that the machine gun shoot? I know that's just going to be awesome.
But there's just no way. I'm the same way. November, I can't get away. If I'm going to take time off in November, it's to go shoot deer, or hunt deer, I should say. Yeah. So I can't get away two different weekends in November very well.
Here's what Vanessa saying. Vanessa, I'm sorry, I was wrong on that. Yeah, for long guns, I did not think long guns had to be sent to my home state FFL. I was thinking of AR-15 pistol lowers. My bad on that. If you get an AR-15 lower that's designated for a pistol, that would have to be sent back. Yeah, let's talk about the AR-15s real quick because that was one of the highlights. Vanessa, I think you'd get a kick out of this. We're gonna talk about the Build-A-Bear.
The Build-A-AR workshop.
So if you've been to Build-A-Bear, you go pick out your bear, and then from there you get to accessorize it and put your clothes on it and get it the different toys and accessories, and they box it, and you pay a fee for every little thing that you tack onto your base bear.
Does anybody else think Travis knows an awful lot about Build-A-Bear for not having kids of his own?
We've gone there before. My wife bought a teddy bear from that place one time. You actually get the animal. You have to put the stuffing in it yourself. You have to put the heart in it. You have to. I mean, they make a whole experience out of it. You know. Hey, man, I worked at Toys R Us in college. This kind of stuff fascinates me. But anyway, there's tables. There are vendors at Wanenmacher that took the Build-A-Bear concept and they have applied it to AR-15s. You want to talk about what you do?
I didn't see. I saw the table finally. You guys talked about it all weekend. I never did figure out where they were until the last days. So you know more about it than I did.
All right,
you know more about ARs. I don't know all the pieces of an AR, upper, lower. That's about all I know.
So they were advertising AR starting at like $349.99. You could go pick out the parts you wanted and get yourself an AR-15 for like $349. Like you could get it there, pay for it there, and you're done. Well, let's just say that you wanted a Spikes Tactical lower, but you wanted a BCM upper, and you wanted Magpul furniture, but maybe you wanted an MFT stock and an EOTech. You could pick out all the parts that you wanted, and you could grab the parts and hand it to the person, and they would assemble the AR-15 to you. So when you're done at the end of the line, when you come around, your gun is done and waiting for you right there. So maybe you want a FDE or you want an anodized upper, and you want like a red, white, and blue AR-15. You could get the stainless barrel with the blue upper with the red anodized lower, and you could. I mean, it was unreal. It was like Legos. I mean, you could literally pick out whatever you want. So say you've been looking at, I mean, it was, yeah, I mean, that is just, and there were like 2 or 3 different vendors doing this option. I mean, you could also throw down a lot of cash. Their prices were very fair. Their prices were basically PSA, for some of the lower grade brands you might want to get, like say DPMS or Bushmaster. But then if you wanted to go with the higher grade stuff, you wanted to go with, Bravo Company, or you wanted to go with Spikes or whatever, they had all those options too. So they pretty much had an AR-15 like a car lot for any price point for somebody that wanted to get themselves a gun. I mean, it was unreal. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. They need to put these in malls everywhere. I think that would be just amazing.
I think they should, yeah.
Or just franchise out across the country where you have a build an AR workstation where you could go and just,
that sounds like a great idea for Night Wagon Industries to
I think so.
We'll have to talk to those guys.
Could you imagine if they could do it as a drive-through? Like, yeah, I'd like a Bravo Company upper and a Spikes lower, and I want the Magpul SL series and an order of fries with that. And
do you think it would be a little too much to call it a drive-by window?
Nah. Oh God, drive-by guns. For $49 you can upgrade to a phosphate bolt carrier group. Why not? Let's do it. Yeah. Now, do you want the knockoff Magpul sights or the authentic Magpul sights? Do you want the airsoft or the M-Bus? Oh, I'll take the authentic ones. Yeah. I'm telling you, drive-through AR would be amazing.
Would you like the hot apple fake hog with that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could do something like this. You could, because you roll up and you would just give your ID and you would just pay and you would sign whatever paperwork your state requires, and then they give you the gun through the window.
Well, if you have 2 windows, you could give your ID and if you have to have a FOID or a permit of some sort, in your state, you give them all that at the first window. Yeah. And by the time you drive up to the second window, they've already run you through NICS and all that's done. Yeah. And then they hand you out your
In-N-Out burger, but without the burgers, I mean, you got the ARs instead. Yeah. I think this would really work. I think this would really take off. I mean, I was like, honey, I'm hungry. I'm going to go get an AR. I'll be back. I'm going to go to Sonic and get some shakes on the way home,
That's right.
Where are you going? I'm going to go get an AR, babe. Get a 6-pack.
Or if you're in a hurry, you're heading to the range, you get halfway there, you realize, oh, crap, I forgot my gun, which we've all been there. So, you just drive through. I'll just pick one up. We'll pick up a cheapie and we'll go have some fun on the range today. We'll spend $450 and that's it.
Oh yeah. But anyway, that was just the coolest thing to walk around and be like, okay, so I can mix and match whatever I want. Yes, sir. I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. So anyway, that was a highlight for me. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, the people were fantastic. The vendors were awesome. The people that would let us do interviews with them were great too. Everybody was super friendly. I definitely want to go back. I need to go back. So, and yet the funny thing is I went to this show and covered all this stuff, and all that I bought was a little pink switchblade for my wife.
I know.
Unfortunately, I had 2 guns en route to my local FFL that I was picking up that week when I got back. So I'm like, well, I'm not really in the market. I mean, right now, I don't really want to buy anything, but I could have. Yeah.
I found 2 things to buy. One of them was that Beretta, which I didn't even send a picture of to my wife after the whole Browning debacle. But for those of you that haven't heard the story, I found a table just 2 tables down from the Gun Channel's table, actually. And he had some long guns laid out on the table, and one of them was a Browning X-Bolt, and the X-Bolt medallion it was, and it's got the maple stock, and you don't see those everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just gorgeous. And so I fell in love with that, and I thought, what are the odds that it's in 270 like I want? And I walked over there. He actually had 2, one in 30-06, one in 270. So I sent a picture of it to my wife, and I said, hey, is there any way we can free some money up in the budget to bring this home? And she said, there's not. And so I walked away, and I was, a little dejected, whatever. But I understand that we've got an adult, and there are things to pay for, like, a house payment and electricity. Apparently, she feels those are more important than buying a new rifle. So I walk away. A little bit later, I walk back over there, and I thought, I'm just going to go, touch it one more time. And I walk back over to the table, and about that time, the guy walks over to that end of his table, picks that gun up in the box, and sets them back behind the table. And he says, yeah, that one just sold. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks. Now there's not even any reason to, try and appeal to Sandhills Sweetheart. So I didn't even bother anymore. So we flash forward to my first anniversary. And that's what some of the people had been saying, hey, you should just go buy it. It's easier to get forgiveness than permission. And I said, well, this was in April. My anniversary is in May. And I said, I want to make it at least to the first anniversary before I get kicked out of the house.
Yeah.
And so, everybody laughed at that. So a couple weeks later, it's my anniversary. And she hands me this long box, and I open it up, and here is a Browning X-Bolt medallion with maple stock in 270 Winchester. And she says, that's the one that you were looking at in Tulsa. And I said, I know, it's just like it. I can't believe you got one of these for me. She said, no, that is the one you saw in Tulsa. And I said, hold on, let me make sure I'm hearing this right. The rifle that I'm touching right now, this isn't the first time I've held this particular serial number. This rifle, this is the very rifle that got sold out from under me when I was standing there in Tulsa. And she's laughing. She says, yeah, I'm the one that bought it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize to your bank account for that. Hey man, ramen noodles are really good. You can live on them for a while. So
she's the one that's in charge of finding out what money we have in the budget and what we can take out of savings and what we can't. So
and what really caused me a lot of pain to watch that rifle be pulled out of your hands or be taken away from you was the fact that the vendor was Nebraska based. And you could have just bought it and just picked it up there back home, or you could have just taken it right there or whatever,
Well, and so the other half of the story is after I walked away the first time, my wife turns around, sends a message to Travis and says, hey, I don't know anything about guns. Is that a good price? And Travis walked over there and looked at the price and said, that's a hell of a good price.
Yeah.
And so you helped her talk to the guy and find out what she needed to do to secure the rifle.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really paid attention to where he was from or asked him, but turns out, he's from not too far from where Travis lives.
Yeah,
right here
east.
Yeah, right here in Nebraska. And so he's like, well, for $100, I'll hold on to it and just bring it home. And so she had that part done, and she gave him a card number over the phone, and he took the $100 deposit. And then it was just a matter of getting it from Kearney up to where we live. And it turned out that there was actually a gun auction in the town where my wife works the day of my anniversary. And so he was coming up to that town the day before anyway to look at those guns. And he just brought it with him, gave it to her. She paid him the balance on the gun, and she brought it home, and everything was all good. And so, yeah, Travis, like I said, Travis was implicit in getting that rifle. And I'm thinking, how did you get this home? Because I know I would have spotted a Browning box in the Honda coming home.
Oh, yeah, there's no way I could have hidden.
No way you could have hidden that.
Maybe by the battery packs or something, but that would have been safe under the seat, you know, and be like shoving it down there, cut the board box in half and fold it over and put in like a Pizza Hut box or something.
I mean, with the Gatling gun, you know, in the back seat, there was no room for anything else.
Well, that was on the trailer hitch, but you know,
turret in the top. So yeah, you know what? I've got that here in the closet. Let me go grab that for those of you that haven't seen it.
The Gatling gun? You got the Gatling gun?
No, the Browning.
All right, we got to show that.
The one that really did get bought. I'll be right back.
All right. So no, we had a lot of misadventures. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you check out NEA Matt's channel. Make sure you check out Sandhills' channel. There's lots of the karaoke footage is priceless. Myself and Matt were serenading Sandhills Shooter's wife with some Everly Brothers, Isley Brothers. What You've Lost That Love and Feeling. So we did a little bit of singing. Had a good time. I love to sing anyway, so it was just kind of cool to get to do a little duet with Matt and swoon Sandhill Sweetheart. But yeah, guys, do you have any other questions about Tulsa at all that you can ask that you might have before we go ahead and call it? Because we want to make sure we're not corking any other shows that are going to be starting up here pretty soon. So if you guys have any ideas or any questions or whatever, just go ahead and let us know. If you are interested in going, just make sure you get in touch with GWebs through gunchannels.com or myself. And hotels, I should talk about that real quick. Very, very cheap. I think we negotiated for like $60 a night with all the taxes and fees included. It was very cheap for us to stay there for 3 days. And that included breakfast and snacks. Some of the best coffee I have ever had at a hotel before was at I don't know if it was the Embassy or Wyndham or whatever. I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was an awesome.
Spring Hill Suites.
Spring Hill Suites, yes. Spring Hill Shooter.
Yeah.
That's what we were calling Sandhills.
Night Strike for that.
It's the Spring Hill Shooter, yeah. But the breakfast was actually good, and they got snacks and stuff. I even did a tabletop review on the breakfast in case you got nothing else to do with your time. So feel free to watch it. So, all right, you want to show off the beauty?
All right, you guys ready for this? Let's see if I can get this in camera here. There she is. I got a glare coming off of the dragon cages, but that's the good that beautiful maple
oh man,
striped finish there on that stock.
That delicious amber going on there.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool. And then on the bottom of the pistol grip, and then the end of the forend, it's just got rosewood trimming it out. Very, very aggressive cut checkering on the forearm and on the side of the pistol grip here.
That's awesome.
Got that good Browning butt pad on it. And then watch this. I'm going to do this with just one finger here. I mean, just look at how butter smooth that bolt is.
Look at that.
It's beautiful.
Freaking awesome.
So, Browning builds a very good product. I know that the company is not the same as it was once, but this is the rifle I've been wanting for longer than Sandhills Sweetheart has actually known me. And so I can't think of a better anniversary present than this. It was really cool.
And Tulsa made it happen. Wanenmacher made it happen.
Travis made it happen.
Hey man, like I said, I was just I'm just the middleman, I'm just the messenger here. That's all I was. I was just the instant messenger. That's it.
That's right. That's right.
So but anyway, man, I just see if there's anybody else that has any questions at all.
Double A, it's 270 Winchester.
That's kind of the standard issue deer caliber that we tend to shoot out here in Nebraska. 243, 270. A lot of guys use 308 or even 06, but 270 will do it for you.
You see everything. I mean, there's people shooting, and that's just it. My family, up until this year, this will be the first year that they haven't done hunting services. But for the last, what's it been, 10, 12 years, my sister and her husband have operated a hunting lodge during deer season up on my dad's ranch. And we've had people come in, from both coasts. I've had people from Maryland. There was a group of guys from the Baltimore area that came out several different years. We've had, California, everywhere in between. You see anything from a 220 Swift to 30-06, 300 Win Mag. One guy brought his 338 Win Mag out, and that leaves a hole, an entrance hole about that big in a deer if you're not far enough away. So it'll definitely kill him dead. But yeah, I mean it's fun to see what everybody shoots. 7-08, 7 mag, you name it. If it's killed a deer, it's probably been something that somebody's killed a deer with up on my dad's place. I know on Caliber Corner we were talking about different hunting rifles and stuff. My cousin comes up every year, and right now he shoots a 300, but he's retired his Model 94 Winchester. But for years he shot that, and they've been coming up for 25 years. I think this will be year 25 that they've been coming up. And so for the first probably 20 of those years, he shot a Winchester 94 in 30-30, and just iron sights, no scope or anything like that. And that dude knew that gun like the back of his hand. And I've seen him shoot deer, out to 150 yards or pushing 200 yards, iron sights on that 30-30. But he knows where to hold. He knew the gun inside and out. And gosh, that just watching him do that, and I'm sitting here, at 80 yards, I'm putting the crosshairs in my scope on a deer, and just thinking that's cool. That just comes from years and years of practice with the thing. So
Calaveras has a question for both of us. What is considered to be a normal shooting range for your area for our area of the state on a deer?
You go first. Your area is different than mine.
You can be shooting in the wide open prairie. You'd be looking at shots up to about 300 yards. I mean, that's what I would say you could comfortably take a shot with if you know your ballistics. Otherwise,
where you hunt, what do you see for ranges there?
I mean, I wouldn't go beyond 300. I suppose it depends if I'm using 308 or 30-06 mule deer. Once you go north of the Platte River, you're going to get mostly up into hill country. And there's a lot of like wooded areas that you can go into where you're going to see deer, or walking along, I'd say 300 yards or less. Otherwise, if you're walking along the Platte River, you might have something pop out in front of you 40, 50 yards away, 75, 100 yards away. So I would just say between 0 and 300 yards. 300 yards would be max. I think a 30-30 would be a nice all-around deer rifle for somebody using Nebraska. 243, 270. Otherwise, my first hunt, I went with a 0.6. So,
and I've shot deer with 7.62 by 39. I've killed several deer with an SKS rifle. I had legally in Nebraska, the magazine can't accept more than 5 rounds in an automatic, so we had to permanently block the magazine so it can't accept more than 5 rounds. But now where I hunt, it's a little different story. And up on Dad's ranch, there are lots of different areas. You might be in a wooded creek bottom, you might be up on an alfalfa field or corn stalks, and there's hill country. The hill that's in my avatar picture, my logo there, is actually part of the ranch up there. And there are places where you can shoot. The bullet might travel 2 miles and never leave the ranch, and there are places where you can see for miles. So it really depends again on where you're hunting, even on that ranch. You could be shooting anywhere from 20 or 30 yards. I've had deer walk right up to my blind. Or you might have a chance, if you know how to do it, you can take a shot that's half a mile away or quarter mile away or something like that, which is not that far. I mean, we're looking at what, 400 meters is a quarter mile. But I don't have the experience shooting that long range, knowing how to dope wind and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to get the experience just so I can be confident in taking shots further out on deer. But I typically won't shoot more than 300 yards to 350 is a max for me.
I know there's guys that are using 6.5 Creedmoor, and you can pretty much pick it off at whatever distance. You got to make sure you're not shooting on the other county or shooting on the other side of the fence when you go out past 1,000 yards. Okay, I mean, some of these guys are, but I mean, that's not uncommon for some people to take shots if they really know their optics and they practice. You do 1,000-yard shots all day, you might be able to pull it off if you've got the right,
right. And Calaveras
right equipment. So
some places in the plains a 300-yard shot would be considered short, and I would agree.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, how many people get the opportunity to get on a range that is, farther out there than 300 yards? I mean, if like I said, if you've got the gun and you've got the experience and the confidence, then it's not unethical. I think we were talking about that Saturday morning on Caliber Corner with AWAG. He was asking about that. And I don't think it's unethical if you know what you can do. But if it's just one of those, well, let's just throw some lead down at this deer and see if we can hit it, I think that's highly irresponsible. So that's why I don't take shots that I don't know that I can make. One of the reasons I wanted this 270, and I've had 270s in the past, I just fell in love with that round. But the reason I prefer the 270 over the 243 is just it's got almost an identical trajectory, but you're throwing. I typically shoot 100 grain 243s and 130 grain 270s, so there's 30% more bullet getting there at roughly the same trajectory, the same velocity. So there's more energy, and I can take those shots comfortably further out and know that I'm going to kill as opposed to wound a deer. So,
or just armament axes. We don't know metric. I mean, 400 meters is a mile. No, like we're saying,
I said quarter mile. 400 quarter mile. 1600's a mile.
Yeah.
Or if you're American, then it's 440 yards, and 1760 is a mile.
Yeah. All right, guys. Any other questions at all before we go ahead and call it? Or I guess I can leave that up to you, man. It doesn't matter because this is your channel. So
yeah, it's all good. Man. I don't have a whole lot of armament and axes. That's what I like about the 243 and the 270. They're pretty flat shooting. I've looked at ballistics charts on 308s and 30-06s and some of the belted magnums, and it's just I don't need that much gun. I don't shoot that far. 270 does everything that I'm ever likely to do. If I decide one day that I'm going to go moose hunting or elk hunting, I'll buy a different rifle or borrow one or something. But yeah, that's
and a lot of hunters use the trail cams. They'll set up the trail camera so they'll know when they're walking by and approximately where they are. So a lot of guys will kind of hover. They'll go to that area if they know an area is hot with deer. They'll go hit that on opening morning because they'll know they can expect to find something there. So you're going to shoot a shorter distance.
Yep, exactly. And then that comes up to if you have ground that if it's public ground, and you're not the only one there. If you don't have if it's a place you've never been to before, you haven't had a chance to scout it. Whereas I could pretty much know where to find deer, in the morning up on Dad's ranch. The problem is, in order to cover all of the places that deer may come out of, we would need everybody that's in this chat and everybody that's on gun channels and probably another couple dozen people just to watch, every little ravine that deer might come out of. There's so many places up there that they can come out of, and there's so many deer up there that if you haven't hunted the state of Nebraska and you're a deer hunter and you want to come out and hunt in a different state than your own, you got to check out Nebraska. We're one of the best kept secrets in the union. You really got to come out and see it. It's not flat like everybody hears about. Once you get out of the Platte Valley where Travis lives and you get up in the hill country or the Sandhills, it's a beautiful place. You guys got to come check us out and see how it is.
Yeah, I mean, you can fill your deer tag in like the first hour of opening day. I know. I mean, really, there's a lot of guys that will just go down by the river and they'll walk around, find their deer, take it, done. I mean, it really is that. Now, don't get me wrong, you can have those huge prairie stalks where you're going out there into the boonies and but it doesn't have to be like that. It really is not that tough when it comes to just a basic deer hunt in Nebraska. We've got 250 or 275 public hunting areas that you can go to because I've got my Gazette that has the listings on there, wildlife management areas you can go to. So there's something across every part of the state. So it depends on what kind of game you're looking for.
Okay, so AA and Calaveras are talking about chains. Is a chain, I want to say that's 6 feet. Is that right? How long is a chain? 66 feet. Okay.
80 chains in a mile. Okay.
80 chain, there we are. Yeah, I'm glad you guys know that stuff. It's been so long since I've talked to a surveyor. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I talked to a guy down on the Kansas-Nebraska border that when he was a kid, they had to resurvey the state line. And he actually went with the guy that went across some of their land. He took him across there and got to help the guy as a kid. He actually had a chain, and they could only use this chain so many times before it wears and it stretches. So there's only so many. You can only do so many measurements with the chain before you have to throw it out and get a different one, which is kind of cool to know. But that's how precise these measurements are when they survey these. And then somewhere on his old home place where he grew up on is the actual stake that was driven in the ground that marks the state line. It was pretty cool to see.
All right. Anybody else, or are we good?
I think we can go ahead and call it.
Cool.
Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat. Travis, I want to thank you for the idea, the 10 things that you need to know, and we could probably put our heads together and come up with 10 more, or
yeah, I'm sure
a few more 10 things.
We'll do a part 2. We'll do a sequel. We'll do a sequel to this one. Yeah.
Anybody that wants to add to the things that you need to know, feel free to drop them in the comments once this goes back up on YouTube here, or email them to me at sandhillsshooter@gmail. But real quick before we go, what do you want to wrap up with, man? What do you have to say?
Nothing, man. Just make sure you get out there and in terms of politics, keep an eye on your local representatives, what they're doing. Make sure you're researching your candidates for your next vote. Just make sure you support the Second Amendment, and that's about it. Cheap plugs. Check out Caliber Corner Saturday morning on gunchannels.com, 8 a.m. Central Time. And I'm also on guntube.org, YouTube, and Gunstreamer. The channel's called Travis P11.
What a great
pretty original, huh?
What a great name for a channel.
I'm telling you, man, it works.
Double A says, "Don't call it. He's having fun." You know what? Do you have to go? Do you have something? Do you want to go watch one of the other chats or anything?
I'm fine. I mean, who else is having Yankees going right now? Is Jelsma going right now? Or
Jelsma, I think we're scheduled to go. I haven't looked over to see if they're going. Anybody that wants to hang out, I can hang out. I've got nothing else going on for a while. So if I don't want to quark those guys, but at the same time, if anybody wants to leave and go, catch those shows, by all means, I'm not going to be upset if we lose a few viewers. I've got 12 of you right now. If you haven't gone and thumbed us up, make sure you do that, please, before you take off. But I can keep this going. Double A, do you want to join us? Squib, anybody? Jump over onto Gun Channels, and I will throw a link over at you. Let me jump over here to Gun Channels. Go over to Gun Channels /Sandhills Shooter. Check me out, and then let me know you're in the chat room here, and I will send you a link if you guys want one. Again, I'm kind of like Travis. I don't want channel strikes. I don't want to offend too many people. I will on principle, but not on language. So we keep it PG-13 over here. No F-bombs, please. But try to do your best. And I know that Double A and Squib don't have problems with that. Anybody else that wants a link, let me know. Jump over here. Let's give the Gun Channel side some love. We wouldn't be here without gunchannels.com. We wouldn't have all found each other. So let's make sure we make sure that we support the Gun Channel side. Anybody who's not on Gun Channels, go do it real quick. You've got time. Go sign up. It's free.
Yeah.
And then I can drop you a link too. So you can jump in here, and I don't have to leave. So anybody that wants to hang out with us, let's just make it kind of a free for all. I don't have any other topics. We can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know if Jelsman's got a show tonight. I kept thinking he did have one, but we may not. Sandhills, I'm actually going to go ahead and drop because I'm working on a few other things. I'm doing some stuff on the computer and going to spend some time with the wife. But no, I mean, if somebody else wants to jump in, or you got some topics you want to bring up, if somebody wants to jump in. So
yeah, I will. Yeah. Let me look over here. I'm just going to see if Jelsman's going, and maybe somebody else is already.
I checked his channel and I didn't see anything. So I mean, I don't. We should be okay.
If I could get there, it comes. If I could just click on my subscription.
Is Sarge C4 having a show tonight or not?
I thought he did his at 7 o'clock Central.
Oh, it is 7 Central. Yeah. Okay. So we've got
shooting left
Marshall going under Clover Tax line until 11 o'clock.
So Matt and G Webs are over there, and like I said, they're way smarter and more entertaining than I'll ever be. So anybody that wants to go jump over and watch that, I'm sure not going to be upset. But so I guess I'm only quarking on Yankee. Anybody that wants to hang out, let me know. So Double A doesn't want me to go because he's having fun, but he doesn't want to talk because he's going to bed.
All right, man. Well, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and drop. Are you gonna stay on, or are you gonna go and call?
I'll hang out for a while. I'll see if anybody
Okay.
wants a link, and we'll get them in here. Calaveras or so. Oh, I heard something in my ear. I think somebody did jump on gun channels here. Have a good night. Yeah, guys, go check out Travis P11 every place that he said, and catch him every Saturday morning, 8 o'clock Central. It's the only time zone that really matters. And Caliber Corner on gun channels and on YouTube.
And I want you guys to know I tried to break Gunstreamer, but they actually came to me and said, hey, we'll import your entire channel for you if you want us to. I'm like, okay. And like an hour later, every video was over there. So, yeah, so I couldn't break Gunstreamer like I did VidMe, but that's all right. That's all right. We're good. All right, man. Hey, appreciate everything, dude. You have a good night, okay? Take care, man.
Yep. Thanks, Travis.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. You guys are awesome. Just make sure you subscribe to Sandhills Shooter if you're not. And, yeah, all right, maybe we'll see you on Saturday, dude.
Cool.
All right. Take care, man. Peace out, guys. Later.
Bye, Felicia. All right. Let me get this link sent over here to Cal. There you are, sir. There is your link over on the gun channel side. And yeah, anybody else that wants to join us, we can keep this going for a while. Like I said, I've got nothing happening. Hey,
all right, bye, man.
Oh,
no, you're like, blah, and I like jumped out. So my bad on that. All right, man. You take care. All right, you have a good one. It's like when I hang up on somebody on the phone. It's like, oh, I got to call back now. I'm so sorry to cut them off. So, all right. All right. Take care, man. Have a good night.
Bye, Calaveras. Bye,
Calaveras. I'm passing the torch off to Calaveras over there, man.
There he is.
Take care, guys. All right. Bye-bye.
There's the tactical pickle himself. How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Glad it's Thursday and then one day closer to the weekend.
That's right. That's right. So on YouTube Messenger, can I do that? Does anybody know how YouTube Messenger works? I haven't ever used it.
I've used it from mobile to send a direct message to roll call once, but that's it.
Double A, send me an email real quick to sandhillsshooter@gmail. Make sure you get both S's in the middle there, and I will just drop you an email, a link back in an email. That'll be way faster than me trying to figure out YouTube Messenger live on the air. Plus, less embarrassing to admit that I don't know how.
I've been in chats with Armament before. I guess I don't have his email. I thought I did.
Yeah, we'll get it going here.
Yeah.
I haven't checked, actually. I haven't checked my Sandhills Shooter Gmail. It's not my main one. I normally, when people send me links and stuff, it goes to a different address, my personal one, so I don't always have this one up. But yeah, Double A, drop me an email real quick, and I'll get you in here until it's time to bug out and go to bed anyway.
Yeah, that's for I figured might as well jump in if you're going to stay on. I don't really have any topics to talk about, but
well, I mean, we've kind of covered a lot of cool stuff. You know what? Tell me about your hunting out there. Do you get to go hunting at all over there?
I do. I've hunted private land and public. The private was a buddy's family, down here in the Central Valley, just north of Sacramento. They have a 300-acre walnut. Some public up in the Sierra Nevada mountains. No luck up there, but I did manage to get one down here in the valley. And
that was for, what were you hunting for?
Blacktail.
Blacktail, okay. So a dog with antlers then?
That's for a big one in this area is 100 pounds before it dressed. So okay, they're not very big, but
that's cool though. I've heard, and I've seen them on TV. People hunt for them or whatever on TV, and they look pretty cool. I think it's neat how different parts of the country have different the different species of deer, and they, they're different size. Down in Texas, everybody tells me that the whitetails in Texas, unless they're on a high fence ranch where they're fed mineral and they're maintained a little better. Typically, it is just it's a big dog with antlers, and blacktail deer they're just not as big overall.
No, they're not. That's where you meant, one of you, either you or Travis mentioned, muleys in part of your state. That's where I had the opportunity, actually, with my first ever deer hunt, in south central Utah near the town of Antimony. Managed to take a nice little 3x2 muley, and you're talking about you like the 243 and 270. Mm-hmm. At the time, I did not own a scoped rifle. I borrowed an older, I think it was a Ruger M77 in 243. Nice. 125 yards, dropped it clean. It was eating when I pulled the trigger. Its nose ended up under its chest.
Didn't even take a step, huh?
Nope.
That's cool.
It was barely legal light to shoot, so that's where I saw the muzzle flash in the scope, and that was enough for my eye to temporarily, essentially not see through the scope. And in that instant, the deer disappeared. I didn't know what the heck happened. My grandfather, who was standing next to me, watched it drop.
Okay. All right. Yeah. See, I've done that before. I shot a deer. The longest shot I've ever taken at a deer, and I was on an 80-acre alfalfa field, so I know that 80 acres is it's a quarter mile by a half mile, and so I know this thing was between 300 and 400 yards. Stepping it off, it was probably close to 350. I'm going to say between 325 and 350 is about where the deer was. I had the very first 270 I ever owned. It was just a cheap Remington 700 ADL. It was a Walmart gun that we had thrown a cheap Walmart scope onto, but it did the job. And that thing, it's the first time I've ever had a deer not run off, and yeah, it flipped over backwards. I didn't get to see it. I was laying over a hay bale, and it was a couple-year-old hay bale. It was really dry and dusty, and the muzzle blast actually kicked up dust in my face. I couldn't see anything, but the person I was hunting with at the time was watching in binoculars and said, yeah, that deer just dropped it. It reared up on its hind legs and fell over backwards and didn't move again. And so that was when I first fell in love with 270 Winchester as a caliber. And ever since then, I've owned one 270 since then. I got rid of the ADL. Just wasn't a fan of a blind magazine was the biggest reason. And I was shooting.
That's where my grandfather has one of the old school, it's probably 70s or older, Springfield in 30-06 Springfield. And that's one thing I didn't like about it when I saw he was out there using it. Only way to unload it was every round had to be run through the chamber.
Yep. And at the time I was shooting. Oh, go ahead.
The Ruger I was using at least had the hinge bottom plates, so I could dump the rounds into the hand and then jack the bolt to clear the chamber.
Right.
The rifle I have now is a Savage 111 Trophy 308, with a detachable magazine. Mm-hmm. So it still allows me I can drop the rounds clear and then just jack the bolt once.
Yep, and that's
asking if you got the email.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it. I keep refreshing my inbox, and it's not showing up yet. I know sometimes these emails don't come in when I'm sitting here waiting for them.
He missed an S. It's because you said there's two S's. It's in the YouTube chat.
Oh, yep. That's why it's not coming in double A. Put two S's. Sandhills shooter. I looked at that and I counted them and I thought I saw two of them, but I must have looked quickly or else my eyes are playing tricks on me.
Yeah, that's easy mistake to make.
There you go. Now, yeah, what Cal put up in the chat there.
Yeah, that's where a buddy, the buddy whose family owns that land here in California. He uses, it's actually one of his dad's rifles that he has access to use. He hand loads for it the whole 9 yards.
Cool.
It's a Remington 700 Sendero in 7mm mag, 26-inch fluted target barrel, target stock, the whole 9, 14 or 15 powered scope, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. For I think his longest shot has been about 90 yards. But it's just what he happened to be able to get, and that's what his dad had that was sighted in.
Right.
Although he is a pretty good shot. That's where I watched him one time. There was a deer at probably about 80, dead run, and he dropped it. It
Cool.
somersaulted as the front legs collapsed, but he put it down on a dead run.
That's one thing I've never tried to do. Even I don't have the confidence in a running shot like that. If I can't get them to stop, which if you've hunted deer very much, I mean, there's a lot of ways, a lot of things you can do to try to get them to stop once they run off, if they're not too spooked. Usually if they know you're there and they spook, but they haven't smelled you, they're not going to run too far. You can usually get them to get them to stop and look at you.
Or they'll more or less jog a distance and then stop again. They don't go full-on dead-out sprint. And that's what this thing was doing when he pulled the trigger.
Once they get a whiff of you, though, if they wind you, then all of a sudden they're gone. They're going to light a shuck, man. So, so yeah, that's something I haven't ever done is even try a shot at a running deer. I'm not a super good shot or claiming that I'm a marksman, of any shape or form. But usually when they're when they're standing still, I do all right. I don't take super long shots, like I said. I shoot the ones that I know I can, or take the shots I know I can hit. And so I've only had to chase a deer one time, and that was back when I was in high school. I didn't know any better. And I found out that in Nebraska, now I know not every state is a 22 caliber centerfire is legal, but my dad had picked up a Ruger M77 in 223 Remington, and so I found out that there actually was commercially loaded, soft point ammo that met Nebraska's energy requirements, because you have to have I think it is 400 foot-pounds at 100 yards minimum to be legal for deer, and minimum 22 caliber, and of course no rim fires. And so I found out that there was one bullet weight that was legal, and so long ago now I can't even tell you if it's a 68 grain or whatever it is. But that's the only deer I've ever lost, and the only deer I've ever chased more than 100 yards or so. And so I just go ahead.
No, that's where you were in the middle of something.
Oh, I was just, anytime we ever get into a discussion about deer hunting in particular, and talking about calibers and things like that, I know that sometimes a 223 is legal in a given state, but the only 22 caliber that I've ever seen that will consistently put down deer, 2 calibers, I should say, a 22 250, if you get the right bullet, will generally do it. And then a 220 Swift has enough energy to make a clean kill on a deer. And anything else, I know it's possible, and I know that you can argue that if you know what you're doing and you know where to put your shot, you can kill them, and that's true. But again, why take the chance? You can't control everything. What if you happen to slap the trigger a little bit or something? And who wants to chase a wounded deer when you can get a 243, get a 270, 30-06, whatever your caliber of choice is, that is going to put them down. So that's the argument that I always make. When we're talking about what's a good caliber. Hey, there we go. I got your email, AA. Let me reply to this real quick here. Should be able to paste and send. It is on its way back.
I'm the same way. I prefer something larger than a 223. In California, the law is just a center fire rifle. which for a state that's so restrictive on everything else, I'm surprised they don't have more requirements for deer hunting.
No kidding. Now, you can't shoot lead ammo though when you're hunting, right? You can't hunt with lead anymore in California.
It's still phasing in a little bit, although to my understanding, most places nowadays are non-lead only.
Okay.
I think private land you can still for 2018 still use lead, but nowhere else.
Okay, just in case that there might be a deer that you don't recover and a condor would happen to eat this deer, and there's never been ever proof that an animal shot with a lead bullet has ever poisoned a condor, but we just
especially up here north of Sacramento when the condor range is down Bakersfield and south. But that's where, if you in certain areas of the country where you're on, where they do primarily the stand shooting under 100 yards with a crack shot, a 223 could do it with the correct slug. But yeah, that's where my thing is definitely is. I would always suggest going for something with a little more punch to it. 243, 30-30, whatever. Just something with a little more punch than a 223 rem.
And if you really, really are wanting to now, okay, let me say this first. If what you have is a 223, then shoot it. Just make sure you know what you're doing. But if you have the option of doing something else, if you're just if you're partial maybe to the AR platform, pick up an AR-10 and be again, I'm not going to call out anybody specifically and say if you're shooting an AR-15. If you're shooting a 223 on any platform that you're irresponsible. That's not what I'm saying, but I just think it's more responsible to pick up something that is at least 243 or bigger.
Yeah, that's where, like I said, that's always my suggestion is to get something with a little more punch. But if someone's dead set on using it, then yeah, same kind of thing. It's just know what you're doing.
Just know what you're doing. Know what, and not only that, know what you can do. And then also know what you can't do with that given rifle and round combination. So Squib Load is in the house. How we doing, sir?
I would recommend 300 Blackout. But I will say this, based on what I've seen a 5.56 do in the military, it'll kill a deer.
It will. It will, absolutely.
I mean, shot placement is important, and the distance you're shooting, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. It might run for a while, but it will kill a deer. It's not going to cut it in half. But now I'm not saying an elk, and I'm not saying it's some sort of wonder round. But if you're a pretty good shot and you're an experienced hunter, I don't see it being a problem. But when in doubt, just go 300 Blackout.
There you go. I always see I'm not an AR guy, so 300 Blackout doesn't even come into my mind when we're talking about different loads in an AR. So
Ruger makes bolt action in 300 black as well.
That's right. They make their American rifle, do they not? I think we talked about that last night on or not last night. When was that? Was that last night? Whenever Clover had his bracket on the
Wednesday. So yeah, that was last night.
That was the days all kind of run together for me. So yeah, I mean, I don't have any experience. I don't know anything about 300 Blackout. I don't know what it looks like ballistically or what kind of muzzle energy you're getting on that thing. So if you guys know, I mean, fill me in. There might be somebody else listening that is as in the dark as I am.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Squib. That's where a 300 black would have a similar energy to the 7.62 by 39. Does it not?
I've heard that. I haven't chronoed anything. I've only shot it twice, but I've shot factory ammo and my own reloads. I actually was reloading 300 Blackout before I had assembled the rifle. And the thing is, you're using the same primers you're using in the 223. You could even cut down 223 brass and reshape it if you wanted to. You're using the same bullet that you're going to use in your 30-06 or 308 for your reloads. And I've used 2 different powders in it. One was a rifle powder, and the other one's a powder I use in my .44 Magnum. So from that standpoint, if you're a reloader and you wanted to get an AR and a 30 cal platform, just the fact that it uses common components is a plus. But as far as its performance, I would not call that a long range round. But I mean, there's lots of people that when they're deer hunting, it's 100 yards, 150 yards max. I mean, there's not a lot of people, and I don't consider 200-300 yards long range, by the way. But for a lot of people, that is. If it's over 100 yards, it's air quotes long range. So until I get to a place where I can test this out, because my range is only 100 yards, until I can test it out past 100 yards, I really couldn't tell you how well it performs.
Yeah, my local range has longer than 100 yards, but you have to be a member, and the cost of membership per year is higher than what I can afford at the moment. But they go all the way out to 1,000.
That'd be cool. There's actually the range that is over where Travis lives that he goes out to all the time to film. I do believe he said you can go out to 2,000, I think, on that one. You can't do it just on any given day. The staff has to be there because they have to fire up their closed circuit TV system so that you can score hits and things like that. They actually have a camera on each target and a monitor there in the shoot house. But I think you were on that range, weren't you, Squib, when you were in Nebraska?
Dude, that range is awesome. That is awesome. Yes. Yeah, they had a long range shoot that day. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. I got a motorcycle helmet on right now.
Ready to go home.
Yeah, so if I'm muted and you're asking me a question I don't answer, it's because I'm writing.
Okay.
On the day I went, they had a long range shoot. They had everybody up there on the berm, and I mean, there was some hardware. I mean, it was a sight to see. Everybody had everything laid out, their shooting mats laid out, and there was some really nice reach out and touch someone rifles out there. And we went up there for the safety brief and all that, even though we weren't shooting in it. And it was a really good chance to see just what this range does when they host these sort of matches and stuff. And I was really impressed. And it's not far from the expressway, but there's no way to see it from the expressway. There's no way. You couldn't even see it from the road. There's so much corn and whatnot. I mean, imagine somebody with a really big farm that's all cornfields, and in the middle of these cornfields, he's just gone, you know what, we're not going to plant here. Let's just turn this into the biggest dang gun range you can imagine. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. I mean, you can go in there and you can shoot up close or long range. There's lots of shooting stations, plenty of parking. I mean, I don't know what that place would look like if it was really, really crowded, but it's just, I didn't feel rushed. I didn't feel like, I don't know. At my range, we're all in boxes, and about every 15, 20 minutes they'll call it, and you got to cease fire and clear your stuff and step back over the yellow line, and then when they call it, you take the chain off, you walk down to your target, you reset your target. There's always that one guy that seems to take forever. Everybody's waiting. Finally, they put up the chains, and you can go back over the yellow line and go back to firing. We didn't have none of that at Travis's range, so maybe that kind of added to the whole wow factor for us. But it was, I definitely want to go back.
And see, for me to go shooting anywhere, I could just as well go to that range. I mean, it's going to be about 3.5 hours away. But that's about as accessible as anything else that's close to me. I've got nowhere to go shoot. I've got nowhere to go practice. My practice that I do, even with just my carry piece, is dry fire in the house. That's what I get to do here. I am 2.5 hours away from the home place, and that's the closest place I have right now to go shoot. So I don't get the practice in that I need. And I mean, it's one of those things where whenever I do shoot, I mean, I can pick up a pistol, one of my two anyway, and I know that yeah, I'm going to be a little rusty, and I don't do like time drills or anything like that. But if I ever have to, pull my gun and use it to defend myself, I know that I can do what I need to with it. That's not going to be an issue. But I'm not going to, get in a bullseye match or anything like that without, without knocking the rust off at least. But I just, and same with shooting my hunting rifle. I'll go out before deer season starts at some point and make sure that my scope is still on, and I'll shoot half a dozen rounds or something and make sure they're going to hit where I need them to. I'm not talking about minute of angle here. I'm talking about minute of deer. So if I can hit a pie plate at 200 yards, I'm happy. And my gun's way more accurate than I am anyway. So, it's never been an issue. So as long as the scope hasn't gotten knocked out, we're good to go. So, I mean, it's not like I need a ton of practice, but at the same time, we all understand that going out somewhere and just getting that repetition and getting that practice in, you only get better. I mean, so I wish I had a place close by. And it's not like I can't get on a list, or there's no list to get on. There's no range here. So if I had the money, I'd buy some ground and build one. I really would. If anybody wants to, I don't want to sound like Night Strike and e-beg, but if anybody wants to be a benevolent investor and start a range in Northeast Nebraska, I've got a great town that needs one. So come on out and we'll help you get going here.
Yeah, I've got a 26-yard indoor range about 5 miles from the house that I go to for my pistol. That's actually where I film all of my drill of the month videos. To go to the public outdoor rifle range, it's probably 30 minutes from here. That's the one that goes out to 1,000 yards. If you go, pay the $300 or $400 a year membership, and then you don't get it for free. Instead of it being $12, it's $9 or something to go shoot for the day. So it's like, okay, I'm spending a whole lot of money and not getting a whole heck of a lot, so I'm not going to do that. At least not at this point in my life. Different buddy, he shoots on a range actually that's owned by his boss. It's in a rock quarry. They have 150, 200, then it goes out every 100 out to 8 as their primaries were the gongs, and then they have a 55-gallon drum sitting out at the mile mark. If you've got a rifle capable of reaching out that far.
I would just love, once I get my Vortex scope bought that I plan on putting on this Browning. I know it's a 270. It's not exactly known as a precision rifle. It's not known as a long range caliber, but I just want to take this somewhere with somebody that can teach me, how to shoot farther out and teach me what I need to know. Even just the mechanics, breathing, shoot between the heartbeats, things like that. I hear these terms and I've never actually known anybody. I hear them. I don't know what to do. So it'd be cool. I'd love to do that, but I just I don't have anybody close by that I know of that can help me out with anything like that or a range to do it on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know. Talking about like the minute of deer, for me, that's where my 308. Yeah, I'm shooting for minute of deer, trying to get a little better skill on it because I've only had that rifle now 3 months. My 223, I'm working on getting it tailored in so it's minute of ground squirrel.
Nice.
Because that's where on the Walnut Farm they have an overabundance of ground squirrels, and I have open permission from the dad. Anytime I want to come out and shoot squirrels, as long as I'm careful, because whenever there's people working in the fields, I can come out and shoot as many ground squirrels as I want.
Nice.
The longest kill on a ground squirrel was a Marlin Model 60 22 long rifle at the longest kill shot was probably 95 yards, and my longest shot I've taken was about 105. But I missed that one by about 1.5 inches.
Which was just a few seconds off, not even a degree off, probably back at where you were on your table or whatever you're shooting off of. It's
I was standing.
Really? Was that offhand?
That was offhand.
Nice.
You know, I learned the old school because that's where I always had slings on my rifles, and learn to do the the 3-point pressure with the sling to stabilize when you're standing. Little 3-9 by 40 22 Magnum scope mounted on that Marlin. It zeroed at about 80 yards, and that's where Buddy was doing something. He needed to go back to the house. Like, okay, just drop me off. He'd forgotten something. I can't remember what it was. I'll stand here and shoot for a few minutes. And then when you come back, then I'll sit in the ATV next to you because that's where they have a side-by-side ATV.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting there, he uses a bipod, uses the dash as a rest. There's a handle on the roll bar. I usually just hook a thumb into that and then lay the rifle across my wrist, for when we're shooting. But yeah, I took that 105 yard standing offhand using the 3-point and only missed it by about 1.5 inches. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I've actually gotten really, really good at. Well, first of all, I've gotten really, really good at being lazy when I'm deer hunting. I don't always go find a hay bale or my pop-up blind. A lot of the time, I'll sit in my Tahoe. And I mean, honestly, if you're not making any noise in there and moving around, then deer don't notice it. Because the way that people that haven't hunted deer, the way that a deer's eyeballs work is not very well. Deer more see movement than they do just to be able to focus in on something that is stationary. They depend on their other smells, their nose and their ears predominantly to find out if you're there. So if you're downwind of them and you're not moving around, then they don't really know you're in there. And the Tahoe is just, I can go park it somewhere next to a pile of bales and it doesn't really stick out too much, in their eyes. And it's white, so if there's snow on the ground, that even helps a little bit better as far as breaking up some of the outline. But if I can get my door open and then step out and just brace myself up against the frame, of the Tahoe there, I've taken a lot of deer, just not even across the hood. I don't even come out from around the door. I put my hand up against the actual frame, not the door frame, but the actual vehicle frame part right there, and rest my gun across my hand, and that works really, really well. And if I need to go up or down, it's pretty easy because of the angle of the frame right there. I can kind of adjust myself a little bit. So it's actually not a bad little rest. And if you do a lot of, especially deer hunting, or I would imagine it would be the same way antelope or elk up in the mountains, but you get really good at figuring out where to rest your gun. Yeah, I mean, I won't take an offhand shot if I don't have to. I'll rest on something. But I've rested on a fence post. I've rested on a branch. A strand of barbed wire, between two posts. Just put my hand down and rest across my hand, and my backpack. I've done a lot of different things out in the field, so it's a good rest is what you make of it, I guess. Yeah,
that's where the mule day I took in Utah, because that's where that area, because of how spread out and the type of terrain, because it's right north of the Badlands, so you'll have nice rolling hill and then a 300-foot vertical drop to the valley, and then nice rolling hills, and then 300 foot up the next cliff to the next, hilltop. And it's aspen groves separated by, just open fields. So road hunting in that area is how everyone hunts, because driven hunt isn't legal. But that's where I was in there. My grandfather, his buddy, and myself went out, and that's where it was my first hunt. So they let me have first crack. So I was in the front passenger seat. So that's where we were driving. We were actually going to go higher up on the mountain that morning, but we happened to see some deer on this one side of a meadow. So we got to the other side, kind of just pulled the truck off the dirt road a little bit. Like, okay, we'll just wait until sunrise, see if those guys are still there. Because I was not picky. I'm still not picky because I'm more of a meat hunter. I'm not a trophy hunter. I didn't care how big the rack was.
Mm-hmm.
That's where lo and behold, as we're waiting, just as legal sunlight comes up, here comes 2 does and a buck walking out of the tree line 125 yards in front of the truck. So I just eased out the door, because it was a king cab, so the back door was that reverse open suicide door type.
Okay.
So as I slip out of the truck, I pop that door open so my grandfather can get out, pull 2 rounds out of the pocket, drop them into the Ruger chamber, lean over the front fender, and let loose. I was on the sights for about 6-7 seconds before I let loose because they were walking a little bit, and that's where our buddy in the driver's seat with binoculars, his binoculars were better than the scope that was on that 243 for the low light. He was calling out, okay, right, left, whatever, to put me on the buck and not the doe.
Mm-hmm.
So waited until the buck got clear before I squeezed off. I was on, probably from the time I got out, time that bolt closed, the time I was on my scope was maybe a second. That's because I grew up shooting a lot of offhand and this kind of stuff. So the quick sight acquisition was something I've gotten very used to. So it felt like forever I was on that scope before I finally got a clean shot. But 100 grain Winchester soft point did the job quite nicely.
Yeah.
That's where I know I've heard people say that you should run like the 85 or 90s, polymer tips because you get more velocity out of them. But I had no problem with those hundreds.
Now, the only thing that I will say about using a polymer tip or even a hollow point like a Federal Fusion or what I shot last time I had a 270 was the, what do they call it, Winchester Power Max, I think, and it's just a bonded hollow point. The reason why I didn't really like my first 270, that blind magazine, Remington 700 was because when I bought that, I also bought a few boxes of Remington's, what do they call their economy ammo, the soft point stuff. I can't think what it's called now.
Corbon? Not Corbon. No, not Corbon. Sorry. Corlock.
Yeah, the Corlock stuff. I mean, it was a special. If you buy the rifle, you get X% off of Remington ammo. So I just bought everything together right there at Walmart. It's really, really good ammo. I didn't have any issues with the jacket separating from the core the way that I've read a lot of magazine articles that say it's bad for that. But the issue that I had was, like you said, you have to run them through the chamber, through the action to unload. And after a couple times of doing that, because I would unload every time I got back in a pickup, pretty soon I noticed that my tips are all deformed. And then they didn't fly straight. And so that was the biggest thing is, now again, I mean, I've got a rifle since then that has a detachable box magazine, and then, what I shoot doesn't have the soft point anymore. But it is just a little bit nicer in that respect that, just kind of understand how your gun works and check your soft points. If you're gonna shoot soft point, and you're gonna not run out and have to buy more every year, and you're gonna keep these things for a couple years on end. Be careful how you store them. Don't store them sitting, with the primers up and the soft points down. Even in styrofoam, those eventually are gonna mushroom out a little bit. I've had that happen too. So, it just makes a difference. And when you're talking about some of this newer Winchester, what is it? Their Deer Season XP is maybe $1 or $2 more per box than the soft point, the regular whatever Super X stuff. It's, go ahead and buy that stuff. I shot that last year, the deer that I killed this last fall, and the deer maybe ran off 20 yards before he dropped. So that's pretty good stuff, pretty accurate. My gun liked it really well.
Yeah, my buddy, one of my other buddies uses the, Deer Season XP in his 270 short mag, Winchester short mag. It's what he likes. I used the soft points in the 243 just because I was, first ever deer hunt. I did not own a scope rifle at the time. My lever action Marlin 336, a 32 Winchester Special, it was the only rifle I owned at the time. So, they're all round-nosed rounds anyhow, whether you're using the core locks or the power points, or unless you're using the Hornady lever evolution rounds, which I put a box through it, but I wasn't shooting at anything of note, so I couldn't tell really what the difference was. But now that I'm getting back, now I've since learned to hand load, and since the deer hunt, now I hand load for the 32, working on putting my stuff together so I can start hand loading for my 308, whatnot. I'm planning on running some polymer tip rounds.
Cool. Squib, I don't know if we've talked about this before, maybe on Caliber Corner or somewhere, but what do you hunt deer up there? And then if you do, what are you shooting them with? And he's probably still riding. So
he's in Michigan, is he not?
Yes.
I pulled over in a Wendy's.
Nice.
Yeah, I was yelling Korok earlier, but
I couldn't hear you, man. I'm sorry. Too much wind, I guess. I couldn't hear you over the wind.
No, I can't. I got my gloves on and my phone in my riding suit pocket. So I couldn't push the button if I wanted to, and even if I could get to the button, it won't read my fingerprint through my gloves. So
sure.
I've tried writing and talking twice, and both Night Strike and HVS were complaining about the noise, and it's like, all right, so I'm not even going to try this. So, okay, so in Michigan, we've got 3 zones, and based on where you're at is what you can use. I'm down in the zone where you've got to use shotgun or straight wall cartridge. So 2 years ago, I bought my 44 Magnum Big Boy, and that is going to be my deer rifle. I was going to go deer hunting for the first time last year, and that's right around the time I lost my job. So everything that was not a necessary expense got put in on the back burner, and instead of being in a blind, I was job hunting. So, but in the end, I found a job in a month. I should have gone deer hunting is what I should have done. So if I had to go back and do it all over again, it'd be like, you know what, I'm going to take a couple days off, and I got 2 places here I can hunt. I've got I've got 2 friends that live about 90 minutes away, and they both have farms. And then if I'm not on their property, I could go about 3 hours away to Dusty's farm, and he's got 200 acres we can hunt on. And I had invites from both, and I had the Henry sighted in, and I had loaded up my own ammunition for it, and that didn't happen. So I got to get out this year and do it. I've already put in for vacation time at work on rifle opening day. So because a day or 2 after opening day, the deer start getting really skittish because they catch on to what's going on. So now, if you're in northern Michigan, you can use pretty much anything, but I'd have to drive 3 hours north to do that, and I'd be hunting on state land. I don't have any friends up there that would let me hunt on private property, and you're going to do a lot better here hunting on private property than you will on state land.
Sure, I think that's probably anywhere. I know my cousin that I'd mentioned earlier that shoots or had been shooting that Winchester Model 94. The first time that he and his dad, actually I think his 3rd cousin is the way that works. His dad and my dad are first cousins, and they live the other side of the state from where the ranch is. They're down close to Lincoln, but they had been hunting a lot on public ground wherever they could in Nebraska. And the first time they ever came up was the fall of it was my freshman year in high school. So it's been. And for those of you that can do the math, that's how old I am. This fall will be the 25th year in a row that Andrew and Norman have come up and hunted. I missed a couple years in that stretch. They've never missed a year. So
38.
Yep, I'll be 39 here in about a month and a half. hence the old and the grumpy old man part. I'm getting there. But the reason they came up is because the year before they were hunting on public land, and they got in there, like you do. You get in there super early. You walk in the dark. They had a spot picked out. They got in there. The sun came up, and without getting up from where they were, they looked around, and I think they said they could see 3 or 4 other patches of orange. Because in Nebraska during rifle season, you have to wear orange on your chest, back, and head. You have to have the hat and the vest. And so they could see 3 or 4 other people within their sight line of where they were hunting. And they didn't know anybody was around until the sun came up. Because everybody, was sitting there quiet, not wanting to spook anything. Everybody had all kind of come in there. And he said, that scared the crap out of him, and never again would he ever hunt on public land. And so they drove up, not even knowing if anybody was going to be home that day, and said, hey, do you mind if we go hunting? And of course, we said no, hunting wasn't a thing yet, wasn't an industry up there at the time. And so I hopped in with them and showed them where to go, and I've been hunting deer with them ever since. But that's just if you don't know somebody with private land, I envy you. I don't know what you do.
Yeah. Real quick, Sandhills. Night Wolf out in the chat a while back asked, would you, for deer hunting, would you rather guy use 30-30 or 30-06? I tried to ask what distance, and I haven't heard back. And you were in the middle of, Squib, and you were in the middle of something. I didn't want to interrupt at the time.
Oh, sure. You know what? Go ahead and answer that. We'll just go around the horn here. Squib, if you're back riding, we'll get to you here after a while, or if you're still with us. But go ahead, Calvera, sir.
For me, comes down to a distance thing. For 30-30, 100 yards, if you're really good with it, 150. I think for most shooters would probably be about where that round would kind of peter out. So beyond that, I'd use 30-06. But it also kind of depends, so like in a real heavy brushed environment with shorter range, like if you're hunting, deep wood or whatnot, where that 0 to 100 yard, I think, is really where the 30-30 kind of is king. Beyond that is really kind of, I think it's more of the 06.
Squib, you still with us, or are you back riding right now? I think you're probably riding. We'll come back to you. For myself, I don't know if it's so much a distance thing as it is like you said, a terrain thing. Where I hunt, it's not real heavy wooded cover. Even there are some places where you might walk, through a creek bottom, and it's really heavy wood cover right there. But you go up the hill, 20 yards, and you're out of the creek bottom, and you're back up on the side hill where it's open again. So I mean, we're not talking about forest. And I've never been east. I understand from the people that have come out, and hunted over the years. You get in, Maryland, Pennsylvania, those areas. I've talked at length with some of those guys, and they said, where they hunt, it's real heavy wood cover, and you might have just a few, 10 yards or something wide shooting lane, and the deer just kind of run through there, and you gotta shoot quick, or you don't shoot at all. In a case like that, then a 30-30 with iron sights, that you can get up quick and get that shot snapped off is what I would pick. And, that lever, you can work that quick. You can snap off a follow-up shot pretty quick if you need to. Now, if you're going to be out, in the open country, then I think that a scoped bolt rifle in 30-06 would be better. My personal preference is the 270. Which is, basically the same case, just neck down a little bit. So you get a little bit lighter bullet, a little bit flatter shooting is all. Some people want the heavier slug. Some people want the flatter trajectory. It's kind of 6 of one, half dozen the other from what I can tell. But, that's my take on it. Is it just kind of depends on where you're going to be shooting. And again, if you're talking about deer, what kind of deer? Are you talking about a blacktail or, a Texas deer that isn't very big? Or the other thing I've heard, like in around the Baltimore area, the deer don't get to live very long. There's not just hunting pressure, but traffic. I mean, you find a 2-year-old buck and it's kind of unheard of. So, you don't need a super high powered cartridge, so that's something too that you can kind of consider. What do you need to shoot? Are you talking about the deer where I hunt, where they might be, 150, 160 pounds? They might be, over 200 if they're a big old bruiser. You want something with a little more power there. And 30-06 and 30-30, as far as energy goes, I can't tell you what. I'm assuming an 06 has got more energy because I know it's got more velocity, but I can't tell you what the energy is on a 30-30 or what even a normal weight bullet is on a 30-30.
30, I think, 150 grains the most common for the 30-30.
Okay.
So, and then a lot of people run the 150 for a deer in the 06. From what I remember, these are just spitball velocity numbers. I think the 30-30, you're looking in the 22 to 2300 mark. And the 06, you're looking at 28 to 3000.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be more heavier bullet, moving faster. There's more energy with the 30-06, but again, I mean, how can you go wrong if the biggest decision you have to make is a 30-30 or a 30-06? Bring them both and shoot the one you like. Shoot the one you're better with.
Yeah.
Squib, are you with us? I'm walking on Clover Tack right now, and it looks like Zorro's got something coming up pretty soon. So maybe I had to pack this in. It's getting kind of late, so I would maybe think about going to bed for too long.
Yeah, I pulled over at a liquor store. I was trying to time it just right. I'm like, okay, is it Walmart? Is it Sonic? Oh, I can't get into that liquor store parking lot. Oh, here's another one. I'll park right here. I was going to say 36, it's close range.
Well,
close range or long range.
You're roboting pretty good. I didn't catch all of that.
Drop out.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it anyway. Like I said, there's other people going, and I need to get going and finish out my night too here. So, anything that you want to say wrapping up here, Cal, or any plugs you want to make?
Yeah, that's where I'll just do a real quick one for Zorro since you mentioned him. Tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern, if I remember correctly, you know what, Zorro can throw it in the chat and correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to have a chat that's going to be focused on a lot of the California gun channel members and the California gun laws. We may have G-Webs jump in there. I don't remember who all is supposed to be on the roster for tomorrow. But just as an opportunity for all of us to kind of get some information, share with those who are not in the state kind of what it is like for those of us here. And what, maybe we can even throw in there what some of you guys can do to help, because that's where we all try to help each other where we can, right?
Sure. And that's going to be on Zorro 117?
Yes.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, that is the YouTuber that we all know as Esparta, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Now he's the Fox. All right. Well, with that, then make sure you check that out. 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 Central, 8 Mountain, 7 Pacific. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
All righty. So you guys, you heard it here first, or if not first, you definitely heard it here. And again, I started out saying this. Thank you to Philo. Thank you to Jeffrey Flores, and now Travis P11 as well for supporting me over on Patreon. Go check me out over there. Believe it or not, my name over there is Sandhills Shooter. You can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, guntube.org, and Gun Channels over there as well. I'm going to plug Gun Channels because, guys, if you're not a member over there, you really need to be. It's free. Go join up. You don't have to pay anything to be part of it. And that's the reason why we keep getting together and meeting all these cool people. So go give them a look. Go check me out. You can get yourself some pretty cool Sandhills shooter sticker swag for not a lot of money. So go give it a look. And with that, we will call it a night. Thank you guys all for joining us, and God bless you.